If you're looking for expert guidance on finding your dream home, a place to start your next chapter, or getting in the door in your first home, chances are your family is trying to weigh in. Like your aunt, who knows the perfect place for you and likes to say, if I'm being honest, a bit too often. Or your savvy family member who swears by an app. But it's not enough to just know you. You need someone who gets you. Someone who can make homeownership possible on your budget. Who can look at what seems insurmountable and confidently say, this is the way. Only a realtor can guide you every step of the way with equal parts resilience and hope. Because no one cares more about helping Californians live the California dream than realtors. So, all due respect to your aunt, but get the expertise from the best at championsofhome.com. California Association of Realtors. Who's your realtor?
Hi, this is the Sock Monkey Guy, and you're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Inspirado Projecto. Today we have a very special guest. He is a poet, a writer, a lyricist. His name is Douglas Ray Jaffe. He has an extraordinary history of being very prolific, and we're going to dive deep into his mind and share it with you today. How are you doing, Douglas?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing today, Kurt?
I'm doing great, thank you. So I came across your website, and I was looking at your demo reel up here, which explains your writing process, your books, and this interesting project you have here called the Douglas Ray Jaffe Project. Could you help everyone understand a little bit more, give some insight into what that's all about?
The Douglas Ray Jaffe Project is a collection of artists, and I have around a catalog of around 75 songs on multiple streaming sites now. And I'm looking for sync placement opportunities and for up-and-coming or established artists to record my songs. And one of my main goals is I want to separate myself from other songwriters by fusing poetry with music. And the Douglas Ray Jaffe Project includes that, where I have a eclectic catalog of all genres of music. R&B, country, rock, old rock, indie, folk, spoken word, all of it. Blues, jazz, and fusing all of these elements together, where it's a collection of artists that cover the variations of the spectrum of subject matter that touch the heart and go with a theme that discover the intricate world in which we live in. And they blend with the mood of my lyrics and the music they bathe in. And I have from operas to audiobooks on finding love for mankind. And I think that's what it's all about. And as far as different projects, I met a lady that her father had written her mother a love letter every day or twice a day in 1969 from the Vietnam War.
Whoa.
And that caught my eye. And so she will be included. I called it 4 Seasons of Vietnam. The first season will be due out in a few months. And it's just her talking about the love that her father had for her mother in such a horrible time. As you know, this is the 50th celebration of the 50th year of the fall of Saigon. So there's a lot of material out there, poetry and books being read about the Vietnam War. So I wanted to include that because that talks about where my writing's at. And I will have an opera that is due out with the Craig Brandwein, who is my producer of all my music. And he has he's a professor of music in Birmingham. And in his class, he has students that have graduated and they know how to sing songs and know how to write songs, and they like what I'm doing. And so that gives me a huge variety on my songs. And I'm trying to combine my wisdom, because I'm older, with the sound of youth. So it's a good combination out there.
It's incredible. Where do you usually find the musicians? I assume at some point it's like a word of mouth.
It's a word of mouth. When I need another singer, like I do my work tapes and we'll come up with somebody of what I'm looking for. And so the last singer to come over, she was a trained opera singer, beautiful voice. So I have a studio at my house. So the professor comes over, she comes over, and we just start from scratch. I give everybody a piece of paper, and everybody has a guitar, and then they ask me what I feel, and then we kind of go over that and it's the process that I like when a song is born. That's the most meaningful.
Oh,
and I think there should be something for other artists too. It's when that magic moment happens where it goes from a piece of paper and a thought in your head where it's actually, now it's notes, musical notes, and people can play it, maybe 2 people or 3 people or 4 people, and it's just going over the song. It's a beautiful, beautiful process. I like that. I guess I'm like a playwright that wrote a play and looking for other actors to play in my play, and they're just speaking how I want my words to be sung.
That is incredible. The fact that you infuse the spirit into it and then they're inspired by it. I love the collaborative process. The whole yes and process is very intriguing to me. I have a background in improvisation. So when you got someone who has a good idea and you go, ooh, yes, keep going with that. And someone else goes, ooh, I got an idea. What if I add a little violin into that? Next thing you know, this thing is baked, you know?
Right, exactly. That's a very good point, Kurt. It's like a cake with many different recipes.
Man.
And it takes all those recipes.
So it sounds to me like you give these musicians and these people who are trying to delve into your world, it sounds to me like you give them a lot of leeway to express themselves.
I give them all the leeway they need. Anything they want to do, I give it to them because they're the boys. I like to take my chances on writing outside the box and pushing the envelope on new formations and taking risks that gives confidence to creativity, you know, with these. I think everybody puts in their small bites of instincts, and that's what fuses it all together.
Man, did you notice that like a lot of, it's been said before that when you write a song, you write from the heart, or you write anything, you write from the heart, not from the brain. Do you notice that when you're working with these musicians, that a lot of them are just writing from the heart, and maybe in those moments, the songs get done even faster than you would even imagine?
Yes, sometimes what they all have in common is they like my lyrics. Mm-hmm. Because my lyrics are different. And, you know, just like I said, like stretching the envelope, waiting for a new form or something that's not like the other songs that you hear out there, to try and make mine different. And that's just because we're all as individuals supposed to be different.
Yes.
You know, that's why we're here.
Well,
and
no, go on. I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say that the singers say they totally get it. That they can relate to the words and what I'm saying, and therefore it's easier for them to match the music that matches my lyrics, and it's so beautiful. Wow,
that must be astounding to hear how they interpret those things. I mean, that just must be, you must be over the moon while you're hearing it being constructed right there in front of you.
Yes, it's all of us mentally twisting and shaping words into forming lines, and then we form them into patterns, and we unravel the many layers of the mind. So, you know, that's what I like. And it's just a great process.
So I noticed in the video you play guitar as well?
I play a little guitar.
So do you, now in some of these occasions, I was imagining, do you sometimes already have like a little bit of a riff maybe for some of these songs where you go, ooh, I got this idea?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think by the end of the year, my goal is to try and put a few songs out there where I'm singing, just me, and like we grew up where it was just wood and vocals, just acoustic guitar, and going back. I guess, Kurt, one of my other objectives is I want to bend the line back of where we are now of songs and songwriting back to the line where we were when we were growing up into the late 50s, early 60s, when people were just, California is a great state to talk about, when they were just bringing their guitars, putting a stool on the stage with a little bitty mic, no fanfare, and they would just sing the most incredible ballad songs, heartfelt songs out there. I think that that's what people are looking for, that they want something they can sink their teeth into. Yes, we have songs that we can sing along, but sometimes we just want that song when we're alone and cleaning up the kitchen or sitting around the house that we can really relate to. I think people are starving for those kind of songs.
So Douglas, I was looking on Amazon. You have your book here called Who is Douglas Ray? Lyrics, Writings, and Poems. Are some of the lyrics that are featured in that book also the ones that are being used for your project, for your music project?
Some. Not a lot. But in my book, there is a lot of writings, just where I would just sit and write about something. One of them was about relationships. One of them was about just different things going on in society. And a lot of them are just interesting writings about the world we live in. And some are poems that are long poems, and some are lyrics to songs. And and I wrote a play that I put in there. Just variations, just like writing. And
it's
on the back of it, on the back of the book, I wrote this. I guess what the book is about. I have been traveling the back roads, finding iron hearts chained to starving minds, walking across and staring through the broken mirror of America. I have found simple people are not so simple, and what they have to say is very real. They are tired of having their intelligence insulted and tired of feeling guilty about being themselves. When it comes to finding the truth, they are told to believe in fairy tales. Their frustration is futile, and human decency is becoming an artifact. As we are being hoodwinked into darkness, I thought I would take some notes. What follows has been written for and about the people I have met on the road.
Wow. Incredible. I totally agree. This is, man, there's nothing like when you're around people and you could just be in your element. And I can tell that just from what you just read right there, that's the kind of environment that you foster with these musicians when they're there in the room with you.
Hi, it's Mickey Dolenz here. You're listening to Inspirado Projecto,
which is the greatest gift that any artistic, creative person could ever have, is just to go, here you go, you're not on a leash, let's just see what you got. There's the dance floor, show us what you got.
Very open.
It's such a breath of fresh air. It's such a, that's the ensemble spirit that they talk about with improvisation. Everybody, if you're all, if you all are kind of gearing towards the same reality, then, well, why wouldn't I treat this person's ideas the same way I would treat mine, and respect that person's ideas the same way I would respect her ideas over there? And, if everyone's in that mindset, you got some great magic going on.
Yes, embrace, instead of getting mad, embrace the clashes, embrace the chaos, let that all shine.
Man, I just picture you just waking up every morning and you're just feverishly creating, where you're just this spout of of just words and ideas. And I feel the same way, and it's just the best feeling in the world, isn't it, when you're in that zone, when you're in that focus?
Right, exactly. I mean, you and me can look at the same wall, and a million people can look at the same wall. But where the different poetry is, and where the different painting's going to come in, and where the different collage is going to come in, because everybody was born to have their own interpretation, their own perspective, and it boils down to perception. Wouldn't you think so, Kurt, that it's all about perception?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And, you know, and that's the interesting thing, too, is that I frequently tell people that, look, we're all living in our own delusion, if you want to put it that way. This person over here who is so headstrong on this idea are all the reasons why this person way over here is not headstrong on that idea. And so it's like, man, live and let live. I just noticed that when I live and let live, things just work out better when I'm not trying to put the reins on someone, when someone's not trying to put the reins on me. Now that's obviously if someone has a direction and they go, okay, this is what I'd like. This song, imagine yourself walking down a dark hallway. Okay, cool. Now I know what direction to go in. I got that idea, and now I can firmly get right there into that track.
Yes, and I call that what you have just talked about. We're stumbling across what's meant to be accidentally, but it's no accident at all. We think it's an accident that we keep just stumbling. Don't you find it fascinating that you wake up and you just keep stumbling across what's meant to be? You keep stumbling across people that were supposed to come into your life.
Oh my gosh, I could not agree more. I absolutely feel that way. And, you know, I've learned that by following my barometer, following my intuition, that's where the most synchronicities, the most magical moments pop up in my life. And when I go, oh, I see you, that's the breadcrumb that leads me to the next one. Do you find that as well?
I do. I know. I feel the same way.
It just feels so good because then what's fun is, do you notice that after you follow that little breadcrumb trail, and then all of a sudden it leads into this, you know, forest of unexpected surprises, and you go, holy cow, you know, one person could go, how the heck did you do that, Douglas? And you go, I know exactly how I did that. This breadcrumb led to that breadcrumb, led to this breadcrumb, and I followed it all the way. I didn't question it. I just go, ooh, that sounds nice. That's exciting.
That's right.
Let's go in that direction.
Right. This lap around the kitchen made me want to walk out the back yard, and it made me want to sit down and look at the sky. And because I looked at the sky, I wanted to go back, and I remembered what went to my car to look for some notes that I'd left behind. It all works that way. It's a beautiful thing, life is.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And I think we're really putting our finger on the magic of what allows for such a prolific creator like yourself to be able to make these kinds of things.
There was a Netflix movie about Picasso. Are you familiar with him?
With who?
Picasso, the painter.
Oh, just a little bit. I do like Picasso, but what did you notice?
I got from him that he was just so different, the way that he could make a head have three different heads, or a coffee cup could be broken in different things and yet still together, and how he broke the mold with his painting on, using different dimensions and scenery of people and everyday places, rearranging the way that we normally have visioned that in our head. He arranged them, and it just opened up the mind to new ideas.
Gosh, that's the tricky thing. Do you notice that this might be a tricky thing with being a visionary? Because you see, it's kind of like being a prophet in a sense. You're going, okay, I see what's around the corner. I'm getting such a strong feeling here, such a strong vibe, that I'm going to create this thing. Everyone else around you who might find themselves bathed in mundanity and low-hanging fruit kind of mentalities, they might go, what the heck are you talking about, Douglas? What are you doing? That's idiotic. There's nothing like that exists in the world. Nobody's going to want to hear that. Nobody's going to know what the heck that is. And then you go, now, wait a second. This is my journey to take, first of all. Second of all, I can guarantee you that if I continue down this rabbit hole here, something extraordinary is going to happen. And maybe what I'm creating now is not meant for the people within this month or 2 months of existence. Maybe it's for the people that come about 2 or 3 years from now, or decades.
That's the best statement you've said in your entire life, Kurt. Right there. Write that down and put it on your wall.
I love it. Well, thank you for that. Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you, and it's great because now that I'm learning so much more about you. Do you fancy yourself sort of spiritual in some sort of sense?
Yes, I'm spiritual, very spiritual. I'm connected to the source. I mean, that's where it all is.
Yes.
It's all there.
Gosh, man.
And stay connected. Stay connected. That's the goal, is not to connect every now and then, but to stay connected.
Oh, man. Yeah, I totally agree. And, obviously, as it's been said, we are what we eat. So, of course, that's the media we're consuming. That's the books. That's the conversations. Do you find that when you're surrounded by, let's say, those musicians in the room, or you go out for your nature walk and all of a sudden you're inspired by something you see a squirrel do to write a new poem or lyrics or something, do you find that, do you notice just how the ease of which
if I could relate that to something, I would say that I like going swimming, okay? Mm-hmm. Because I swim laps about a mile every 4 or 5 times a week. So wow. During that, I am submerged in the water. I am in a huge mikvah where I am just collecting all kinds of thoughts that go from way past my lifetime and could go back to the beginning of time and could look into the future and just think of all different thoughts, because you have to have an empty vessel in order to fill it up. So one of the key things I find for me is you have to have an empty mind to be able to fill it up. You can't be cluttered. You can't be cluttered about other things, material things, when you're doing artistic works, because it's occupied on that particular artistic task that day. But that's very important to me. And I get a lot of thoughts and think about things. So usually I come out of the pool and write things down that I thought about that day and see what I can do with it.
Wow. Talk about being connected to the source, that right there is a great metaphor. The fact that you're swimming in the source, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's kind of giving you the ideas. It's beaming them to your antenna. It's amazing.
Right. I guess I'm swimming. I'm going through the ancient riddles, and it's given modern thinking a real kick in the head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's amazing when you stay true to a vision and you just follow that umbilical cord and see where it goes. And, it's just the greatest feeling in the world. It's just the greatest feeling in the world. And I
guess as far as what we're talking about, I guess I could say I think that we're all leaves born in time, hanging out on different branches from the big tree. And that tree they call the universe. And I harmonize with the strange and unusual in this universe.
Gosh, I love it. Now, speaking of the strange and unusual, have you had any sort of paranormal sightings, whether it was, a ghost or maybe a UFO in the sky or a cryptid sighting out there in the wild? Have you had experiences like that before?
No. No, I have not.
Wow. I'm surprised because it seems like those of us who are kind of tuned into that stuff are since we're kind of open to the strange and unusual.
I don't know. I gotta know how this goes, but I was from Birmingham and I went to a Renaissance festival in New Orleans, and I was hell bent to go to California. I was young, and so I ran into a palm reader. The palm reader read my palm and gave me a sad look and says, "You should go back to Birmingham."
Oh.
And I don't know why I listened to her, and I just went, maybe she knows something. So I came back to Birmingham. There you have it.
Well,
nobody knows it.
And that's interesting.
That was strange.
That was strange. What's interesting now that I hear that, maybe that fortune teller foresaw all of these astounding experiences that you're going through right now. and just didn't have the words to talk about it.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
'cause you're out there with these musicians that you found in that location. I mean, you're creating, you're creating
Yes.
magic with these folks.
Yes, I have like right now I'm working with, I think, 7 different singers, 8, I don't know, but I know that, the professor's working on a few songs, just Natalie's working on 2 songs, and Ashley's working on the song, Connor's working on the song, and hopefully they'll have those songs. So I'm constantly doing this.
Wow.
And as far as, fame and fortune, I just want to be known as a good songwriter, a different kind of songwriter that from listening to what we've been talking about, those are my goals.
Well, you got those really great ones out there, like Leonard Cohen, for instance, that just have survived the test of time. And even though he's not necessarily played on the radio, somehow, people know him. They appreciate him, kind of like Tom Waits. You got these great singer-songwriters that are poets, I feel, at heart. And I feel that you're fitting right into that same vein. Maybe even let's throw in maybe a Warren Zevon for good measure. I feel like you fit into that same vein.
And look, I'm not opposed to somebody calling me up and asking me what my routing number is so they can wire me money. I'm not opposed to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I noticed that great things come to those who are, honoring their truth. And you're, from what I'm noticing, you're doing a great job of it. So from what I understand, there's something that you had written down, and I'd love for you to be able to share it with the audience.
Well, I did. I'm trying my hand at being so serious. I thought I might write something that had a little humor to it, if you would like to hear it.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. This is more like a poem, I guess. The kitchen gloves were feeling funny inside. Fell in love with Dawn like a groom and bride. Microwave complaining, needing a new knob. The oven knew all along the gloves were odd. The microwave and oven were riding their bike to hear the sermon by the great Henry Van Dyke. Henry spoke, said it's okay to like uneven pancakes and drink 2 feet wide peanut butter milkshakes.
That's great, dude. That's great. Oh, my God.
Meanwhile, Leo and his birds were passing time, talking about new bird suits made by Calvin Klein. Suddenly, the bald eagle started skipping rope, but the crows on a limb thought they were a joke. One of the gloves joined the lights and yield signs, starting a band called the 4 Stop Signs, hanging around making the sky a nervous wreck, and that's when the other glove lost all respect. The microwave and oven started into drinking, singing knowledge is just one giant onion. One glove started talking about French toast, and the other threw the onion right in the roast.
Oh my gosh. I could totally imagine an entire poetry book of those kinds of poems. Oh my gosh. Those are brilliant. There's a great author, and I wish I could remember his name right now, but he wrote a great book called The Sadness of Sex. And it was a series of just great, just bizarre. I love the absurdity. I absolutely love the absurdity, surreality. I like to say Salvador Dali is my spirit animal, but when you combine those aspects in the things that are actually relatable, I love that you're giving personalities to the glove and the oven and, the perspectives of the birds. Man, you got something there. If you got more jangling around your brain, keep please. You don't need to hear my permission, but just keep please writing those down. You could have an entire book of those. People would go crazy for it.
Oh, you like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. That's great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes. Oh, Barry Yergrow. That's his name. That's who just popped in my brain. You might appreciate his book, Sadness of Sex. But it's that kind of absurdity that's just so it gets you to think and it gets you to wrap your brain around it. And I like it. And I love the fact that you shared it with us on Inspirado Projecto, because I know that other people are going to be inspired by that to write and to move forward with their projects. I think one of the big things is that my dad grew up telling me about, and he told me this term paralysis of analysis, and I think that goes along with the idea of, if you're sitting, as you well know, you can't just sit there like you were talking about earlier. You can't sit there and be overly analytical of what the heck you're doing there. You're standing in the way of yourself, right? You have to get out of the way of yourself and just let it flow through.
Yoda was almost played by a monkey. According to the book, The Making of Star Wars by J.W. Rinsler, George Lucas originally planned for Yoda to be played by an adorable monkey wearing a mask and carrying a cane. What do you think of that? Stay tuned to Inspirado Projecto for more fun facts.
This is Blythe Baines, and you're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
You have to get out of the way of yourself. That's another fine sentence and quote. You have to get away from yourself to discover yourself.
Gosh.
That's why they say that God created darkness, but he formed the light, and so people ask why that is, because, you can learn more about yourself when you're alone in a cave in the darkness. You can learn more about yourself than you can in walking the beach in broad daylight. You'll discover so much more about yourself.
Didn't Da Vinci, didn't he do something like that? He went into the cave for like a year or something like that, and he emerged with all this amazing insight.
I think that's where the mystics and the sages wrote most of their writings, were in caves, with a little firelight and discussing all day. That's another thing that I wanted to bring up. I don't know if it's the right time, but as far as like what's on my mind, I wonder, because of all the civilizations that have passed and where we are today, don't you think that more people had things in common than they didn't?
I do believe it.
Since man was born, don't you think he wanted to have a friend? Don't you think he wanted to know what love is? Don't you think he wanted to know why he was here? Don't you think he wanted to ask all the questions that you and I, from here, from where you are sitting and to where I'm sitting, all the millions of people across here and across the globe, don't you think that ever reaches their mind?
Oh my gosh.
How much we have in common, but it's the few things that divided those civilizations and it's kind of sad, we don't have to love each other, but we just have to try to get along. And I'm just wondering, if not now, when?
Oh my gosh. It's so interesting. I was brought up learning the Golden Rule, and I haven't heard anyone talk about the Golden Rule since living in California for the past 25 years. I haven't heard anybody talk about the Golden Rule. It was just a baked in, just assumed default mode of everybody that lived where I grew up, and you respected each other the way you wanted to be respected. And having, in addition to what you were saying, it's interesting. Do you find yourself being a visionary of creativity, that you'll find yourself coming up with thought or an idea, or you'll say a very specific phrase to someone or write it down in a book, and all of a sudden, somehow, well, we all know how, the universe brought it to us, but you might find yourself suddenly on YouTube, and up comes something with Alan Watts talking, and he is saying the exact thing that you had just yesterday talked about.
Well, I know what you just said. That's the first song. I think that the first song that God sang it and wrote it, and I think it was called the Song of the Universe, and that's his song.
Well, it's just fascinating because you might find yourself coming up with these ideas that you end up to call back what you were saying about those who share the same sentiments that we do today. You probably, it astounds me when that happens to me, when I'm like, oh my gosh, and I make a painting or something like that, and all of a sudden I find out that back in the 1800s someone painted something very similar, and I go, ooh, this is like a confirmation, like a high five to me that I'm in service to the same source that these folks were.
Exactly.
It just feels so good. It feels so good. It's another wink from the universe, kind of letting you know, hey, guess what? You're doing it. You're just keep on going. You're tapping into the same stuff that these ancient philosophers and painters and writers, they're all tapping into. And now here it comes back to you. What are your thoughts about things like reincarnation?
I'm there.
Man.
I think that we come back several times, that we have a certain mission that we have to do on this earth. And it could be just one simple mission, but I do believe that we do come back. I believe in soul. I believe in soul power, and I believe in souls very, very much so.
Now, do you feel that when you're especially inspired and you're in a particular...
I'll give you something, because have you ever walked up to somebody you could have sworn you met them before?
Yes.
Has that ever happened in your life?
Yes.
It doesn't happen very often in your life, but it happens sometimes.
Yeah, it does. And I think, too, is that what goes along with that is that, many folks out there would be embarrassed to go up to this stranger because they're worried about what the stranger is going to think about them. They're worried about, I'm going to look creepy or something. I came to this revelation. I go, look, somewhere in the future, I'm lying on my deathbed. And do I want to lay there with all the regrets and keep playing those over, looping those over my brain? Or do I want to have a series of memories where I took a risk? I was, quote, daring enough, unquote, to go up to a stranger and go, hey, I feel like I know you. Or, oh my gosh, like, there's just a vibe here. Did I know you way back in elementary school or something? And all because you opened up that door, now you got some special surprise that you would not have had if you had shrunken in fear. You notice that?
Right. And there is no coincidences in this world. There's no happen chance. It's all there.
Right.
Time, it's all divine inspiration. That's my thinking, is that everything that happens is born in time to happen.
So how many times would you say that you come across, magical synchronicities like that?
Not often, but sometimes, like when something doesn't work out. Have you ever had something that it didn't work out? You got really upset. It bummed you out for a day, a week, a month. And then lo and behold, 13 months go by. You can't remember the incident, but you're in a better place.
Yes.
And this is another cosmic, thing that happens in our life. Sometimes we think that the worst has happened and there's no recovery, when in fact, what has just happened, somebody up there did something for your own good that you couldn't do. So it had a hurt. Tough love, I guess, is the same. But yes. And we must always be aware of that.
Yes.
And go ahead.
Well, it reminds me of this thing that Alan Watts was talking about, where there was a story of in this little village, the farmer's horse ran off, and so everyone in town was like, "Oh my gosh, aren't you scared your horse ran off? It's probably lost forever." And he goes, "Maybe." And then he sends off his son to go get the horse. Well, then the son to go get the horse, on the way there, he falls off his horse and breaks his leg, and everyone in the town is like, "Oh my gosh, that's so terrible that your son's leg is broken. He'll never walk again." And he goes, "Maybe." And then and then all of a sudden, then in comes the people looking for, coming into town, looking for people to fight for him. And since his son had the broken leg, he wasn't chosen. And so it was all because of those series of events that so the guy's saying maybe, basically what he's saying is like, well, we have yet to see how that's going to unravel. We can't really, definitely say for sure this is going to be the end all be all thing. We don't know what's hiding around the corner. Maybe something bad will happen, but however, maybe something awesome will happen from that. And that just reminded me of what you were saying, reminded me of that story.
That's a great story, Kurt.
Well, thank you. You're inspiring it. So thank you for, thank you for inspiring it.
No problem. You're a very inspiring soul, and I'm sure that you've done a lot of good for other people that have come on your show.
Gosh, I mean, I just love sharing people's unique stories and those who, don't really get a chance to be having the spotlight shined on them so much. And I take great pleasure in, sort of doing that alley-oop. Like, all right, let me help you over the fence. Step in my hand. Here we go. Let's get you over the fence. And I get such great pleasure out of that. And it just feels so good. And especially when I come across visionaries like yourself, where we're speaking the same language, we're tuned into that same frequency. It's incredibly joyous. And in fact, to call back something you said earlier about, meeting someone that you feel like you've known a while, I actually feel that way about you. I feel like I've known you a while. It's incredible. Just, we're speaking the same language. It's really cool.
It is nice. It is nice.
And it's the kind of language and the kind of ideas that need to be shared. We need to show this alternative to people, because if people are not too careful, if they're watching the news from the moment they wake up, the news right before they go to bed, all that crap is, all that junk, all that self-doubt, all that fear, all that worry and anxiety is just rolling around in their brains. And so I think when we offer this alternative, we go, hey, listen, it's okay for you to shut that stuff off. It's okay for you to kind of create your own reality experience. And there are good people out there. It's not just the extremes of what's being presented in the media. There are good people. Maybe meet your neighbors. Maybe say hi to the person that you're walking down the street. You might find yourself.
Absolutely. Always open the door for somebody and say hello. Always do that. I always do that, because, one small can lead to a kind, put it this way, a kind word never goes too far.
Never. It's so interesting, because that reminds me from, I believe it's The Power of Now by Wayne Dyer. He talks about kindness and how kindness raises the serotonin levels. You probably already know this, but kindness raises the serotonin levels for the person who's being kind, for the person who's being kind to, the person who's receiving the kindness, and then also anyone who sees the kindness. So, let's say you're at the grocery store and you say something nice to the cashier lady and you go, oh, nice, pretty nails. Looks like you've got a little art gallery on your finger, your fingers there. Oh, well, thank you, darling. Now you've made her day. Now you've made,
right.
Good.
Always do that. And, let's give, while we're on the show here, let's give a shout out to all those unknown and unseen writers and painters and artists to not give up, to keep on doing what you're doing. If you think that your stuff is so odd and that nobody's ever going to listen to it, let's make sure that you get your word out there to other people to keep doing what they're doing.
Oh my gosh.
And don't give up.
Give
them the courage and give them the inspiration to keep doing what they're doing, Kurt. That's something that you can do.
Oh my gosh. I love those sentiments.
Help them bond with who they really are and give their forms of expression. And every person needs the capacity to express themselves.
They really do. It's so interesting. I know a guy who's just one of these frustrated musicians, and he's always using the excuse, oh, everybody they just want Taylor Swift stuff. That's all they want. That's it. And I go, dude, you have your own perspectives, your own stories, your own history of things that nobody else has any purview into. And through your music, just share that. As it's been said, create the art that you want to see in the world. Don't look at what's in the world and go, oh, well, everybody already wants this. I can't speak for everybody in the world. I can't. That's a bold statement right there. Everybody in the world wants this. No, that's a bold statement. Trust in your frequency. Trust in the fact that you're going to find others who operate at that frequency, and they will be magnetized to you. You will be magnetized to them. Do you notice that too?
Absolutely, 100%. But I just thought that, we're nearing our conversation, which I've enjoyed very much talking to you.
Me too.
Let the other people know. If there's somebody out there that's thinking that that's no good, let them keep writing and let them keep painting.
Yes. And you know what? one of those people who's passionate about what they do is Krista from PLA Media, and thank you to her. Thank you so much, and thank you to all of your collaborators who believe in your vision, and now it's simultaneously their visions too, because they've helped. As it's been said, it takes a village to raise a child, and I think every song, everything you write, everything you create, that's, I respect every one of those ideas like they're a little child, and I want to be able to give them the ability to go out there and inspire people, or maybe ideally someone will listen to something that you or I do, and they go, oh, you know what, I can do that too. And I think that's what this podcast episode serves as.
Yes, and we must always express ourselves above and beyond the limitations that we think that we have, because we can always do better and go on. I mean, I think that each day and time has a life of its own, a day that has its own energy, and we must live every day if it was our last, and that's how we should live life.
I totally agree, Douglas. Man, well, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. I'm feeling very enlightened right now. Thank you for that. And these vibes are going to be stamped right into the episode. People are going to feel it. They're going to feel it. And I have every assurance in the world. I know that's going to happen. So thank you for, taking a chance on the podcast and sharing your knowledge, and all of your wisdom. I really do appreciate it.
And I thank you, Kurt, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, sir. You too. Take care.
All right. Bye now.
All right. Bye.
Wowzers, what another extraordinary episode with an extraordinary visionary. I love sharing these visionaries with you who are listening. And chances are, if you're listening to this right now, you are tuned into the same frequency. I've noticed I've got listeners in Canada, in Ireland, in the United States of America, in France, all over the world. So if you stumbled upon this, there's a very good chance that you're supposed to be listening to this right now. Ideally, something within this episode has inspired you to go off and create stuff too. Douglas, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. Thank you so much, Krista from PLA Media, for creating this whole phenomenon. Thank you for contacting me and thinking that Douglas would be good for the show. You're right. We do have a great synergy, and I appreciate the fact that you had that in mind. Also, thank you, Martin Schmidt, the Sock Monkey guy at the top of the program. I have interviewed him on a number of occasions. Thank you, Blythe Baines, another go-getter, phenomenal musician. I've interviewed her on a few occasions. Thank you, Henry D. Horse, for that wonderful fun fact. And also thank you, Mickey Dolans, for your extraordinary promo. I've always been a big fan of the Monkees. It was an honor to meet him and for him to agree to make a promo for me. Keep your ears peeled. There is a lot more that is going to be coming your way before you know it. I've got a lot of interviews lined up, already in your archives, also coming up too. Also, if you're a big fan of Andy Kaufman, please check out my new EP, my mini album I like to call it. It's called Andy Kaufman Is Alive. It's on Spotify, Reverb Nation, Bandcamp, all of the streaming channels. My name is Kurt Eric Clendenin. I'm going to put all of these links into the descriptions for you in case you want to check them out, do some investigations. Thank you once again for listening to Inspirado Projecto.